You're listening to or watching the QC Step Podcast, a podcast to give you the information and the skills that you need to find a job, keep that job, and become a valuable employee. My name is Corey Finneran, and I am a transition specialist with the STEP program, and welcome to the 23rd episode of the QC Step Podcast. On this episode, I'm going to play an installment from the My First Job series. But before we do that, let's take a look at this week's job leads. We post current job leads to qcstep.com every Monday morning, and you can find this week's leads under the blog post entitled Job Leads, March 11th, 2013. Pizza Ranch, that's on the Iowa side, they're hiring various positions. Yonkers at South Park Mall, they are hiring stalkers. Gordman's, and that's in Moline, they're looking for sales associates. The Chili's, and that's on the Iowa side, they are looking for hosts and dishwashers. And Dillard's at South Park Mall is looking for sales associates. And we have job leads for graduates. FedEx is looking for dock workers. That's a part-time position. UPS is looking for package handlers, and that's for the 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. shift. And XPAC is looking to fill various positions. And of all of these job leads that I gave you this week, they all have online applications, and you can find the links to all of those at qcstep.com under the blog post entitled Job Leads, March 11th, 2013. If you need help with any of these online applications, there's a contact form at the bottom of the page, and fill that out, and it goes straight to me. And Gary Maiden, Carrie Stewart, or myself will contact you and see how we can help you with filling out those online applications, because they can be a little bit tricky. Back on episode number 15 of the podcast, we introduced a new segment, and it's called My First Job. And on that episode, Gary sat down with Mrs. Hem from Riverdale and talked about her first job. The purpose of this series is to show you what jobs the teachers and the adults around you started with when they were in high school. And I think that you'll find that their first jobs are pretty similar to the jobs that you're applying with or that you currently have. So on this My First Job segment, Gary sits down with Brian Garner from Riverdale High School. So here's Brian Garner talking about his first job.
I'm Gary Maiden, and this is another installment in the QCStep.com series, My First Job. With me today is Brian Garner, an individual aide and coach at Riverdale High School. Mr. Garner, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Gary.
All right. First question. How old were you when you first decided to look for a job out in the community?
I was 16, going into my junior year in high school at United Township High School.
Okay, so the summer before your junior year.
Yes.
Okay. What motivated you to look for a job at that point?
Well, I was always asking my mother for money, and it was a situation where I wanted to have my own money, and wanted to, have a little more independence with my money. So I decided to go to Quad City Downs and apply for a job.
Okay, so tell us about that first job.
That first job, I went down, I applied with Mr. Willie. He was the general manager of the food service, and filled out the application there. Okay. And we interviewed, and he hired me right then. Okay.
And this was at, what was the name of the place again?
Quad City Downs.
And for those who may not be old enough to remember, what exactly was the Quad City Downs at that time?
Quad City Downs was a harness racing track. They raced Wednesdays through Sunday. Okay. And so it was evenings, so it didn't really interfere with the summer basketball that we were playing at the time or anything like that.
Okay. So you went out and you applied. Did you interview that same day then?
Interviewed the very same day.
Okay. When did you find out you got the job?
Right there.
Same day?
Same day.
Okay. What were some of your duties in that job?
Some of the duties were we made pizzas by hand, which was kind of fun because they gave us the actual dough, and we had to kind of flatten it out, and then we used sauce, and then we sprinkled the cheese on. We made the cheese pizzas, and then we had pre-made sausage pizzas and pre-made pepperoni pizzas. We prepared the hot dogs, prepared the popcorn, and the soda was already prepared. And then another duty that eventually, once I was there a while, I had to do the count of how much we sold and count the money for our concession stand.
Okay. One of the challenges our students face is just figuring out how to find out about places that are hiring and where to look for jobs. This particular job, how did you find out about it, or how did you go about, getting the job?
Well, because I lived right down the street from Quad City Downs, I knew that they were opening for the season. I just went down and applied, but there are other ways to find work. You can look through and now you have so much technology right. that you can look on the internet. Back then it was, the newspaper, or you would listen to the radio to see what jobs were open for youngsters in that age bracket.
Sure. I think what you did then, though, is still a good way to do it today, and that is just show up, look good, be polite, and ask if they're hiring.
Exactly.
That's still a valuable way to do it. When you interviewed, did you have more than one or just the one interview?
I had just the one interview.
You said that was with the general manager of the food service there.
Right.
And you were hired. What was your favorite thing about that first job?
Well, I believe the best thing that I liked was that I met a lot of people, mm-hmm. and I met a lot of people from different parts of the country. I mean, and worked with people from the different parts of the country because their kids also worked there, and some of them worked in the concession stand with me. Okay. So I mean, it was exciting. I met a lot of different people that would come to watch the races, and we'd stand and have conversations, and it was just fun. That part of it was fun.
Good. What was your least favorite thing about the job?
Least favorite was probably making those pizzas. Okay. You could never. I mean, I would probably. Sometimes you'd put too much cheese, and then other times there was not enough. So that was.
Do you remember how many pizzas you would make in a day?
Well, like our busy days were, Friday through Sunday. Right. So like on a Wednesday, we would probably make, I would probably say 10. And then like Wednesdays, and then let's take a Friday or Saturday. Those were real hot days. They were, we'd probably make 30 pizzas, 40. Okay.
So it kept you busy.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want to create false expectations for our student listeners and viewers. Was the job always easy, and was it always fun?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't always easy. It wasn't always fun. You had to keep up. You didn't want to burn your pizzas. If you came out with some burnt food, the customers would complain. Right. I mean, and that was not what you wanted to hear. And so we developed a way to, we developed into a situation where we were making good pizza and doing the things right, and and it's work ethic. We developed a good work ethic and doing the things that we had to do to make our consistent stand work best.
Now, today you work in a school, you're a coach. Looking back then when you were making pizzas and things like that, are there any skills that you either developed or sharpened at that time that are still useful to you today from that first job?
Yes, I believe so. I'm able to speak with people. And anyone I learned how to manage food and manage different counts. I counted money and had to learn how to make change well, I already knew, but you had to make change, and you had to do it quickly. Sometimes the lines were long. You learned how to handle irate customers, and they did. Sometimes they got irate because they wanted to get their food and then go place their bet, and sometimes the line was long and they couldn't, so you had to learn how to handle that in a tactful manner.
And today, sometimes you deal with students who might have some of those same
issues.
You bet. Okay,
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm Gary Maiden. This is Brian Garner. We've been talking about Brian's first job. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Gary.
Well, thank you to Brian for telling us about his first job. And if you're a teacher and you're interested in doing a segment for the My First Job series, you can email me about that, and we will set up a time to record it. As I mentioned last week, if you're a student and you have a question that you would like to have answered on the podcast, whether it be a question about applications or interviews or any type of situations that you encounter if you're working a job, you can email them to me, and the email address is info@qcstep.com, or you can submit those directly on our website through the contact form. And just so you know, I'll keep your names anonymous. I'm not going to put what your name is, so don't worry about that. Don't forget that you can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter for updates on job openings. And you can just go to qcstep.com/Facebook and qcstep.com/Twitter to connect with us there. Thank you for listening and downloading. And don't forget that the Blackhawk College Job Fair is coming up in 2 weeks. That's on March 27th. And if you want more information on that, you can get a hold of us through the contact form on the website, or if you see Gary or Carrie, Don, or myself in the schools, you can ask us about it. So we will be back next week with another episode of the QC Step Podcast.